America, Rob, hearts are very heavy here at the 18th District right here behind me, where Commander Bauer was the commander here for about 2 years. We interviewed Commander Paul Bauer back in 2013. At that time, he was the lieutenant of the CPD Mounted Police Unit. He spoke to us about his love of horses and working in the unit.
There's no better way to move a crowd than with a horse. They don't want to touch the horse, nor do they want to get the horse to step on them. You don't have to buy them lunch. They don't complain.
In 2012, we interviewed Bauer about a break-in where the horses are kept on the grounds of the South Shore Cultural Center. The animals were deliberately injured. Bauer expressed during the interview how much he cared about the horses.
They did not enter this to commit a theft. Rather, it appears they entered this to maliciously harm our horses. For what reason, I don't know.
Now, we're told Bauer was well loved and known for his megawatt smile and being a devoted family man and truly being devoted to the men and women here at the 18th District Police Station. And on a personal note, about 2 years ago at a charity function, I met the commander, and he was incredibly happy and proud to be serving here on the near north side at this district and could not wait to start his position.
It all began with that 911 call. You could hear a woman crying for just a moment before that call disconnected. A search of the number by the dispatcher revealed that number belonged to a Candace Smith, the wife of the man now identified as the suspect, Quentin Smith. And this wasn't the first time she'd called 911 in fear of her husband, so officers quickly responded to what they thought could be a potential domestic situation. And once they arrived on the scene and came into contact with the suspect, gunfire was almost immediately exchanged. And then Candace Smith called 911 again. She told the dispatcher she was hiding in the bushes outside her home. Take a listen.
911, what's your emergency?
Please help, please help, please help.
What's wrong? Tell me what's going on.
He shot the police officers.
Your husband did it? Where's your husband now?
My daughter is in there, please.
Okay, where's your husband?
312 Crossland Drive, I don't know, but my daughter is in the house. She's 1 year old, please.
Officer Eric Joring, a 17-year veteran of the police force, he died at the scene, while Officer Tony Morelli died at the hospital later in the day. He was a 30-year veteran of the force. Both men are being remembered as heroes, guys who did their job the right way and gave their lives in protection of others. A GoFundMe page for the two men's families at last check has raised over $180,000. Now, I mentioned that this wasn't the first time that police responded to the Smith home to investigate domestic violence. Incident reports that we've obtained from the Westerville Police Department shed some light on the suspect Quentin Smith and the tumultuous and troubled relationship he has with his wife, Candace. In fact, we learned that last year, Candace visited the Westerville Police Department. She was inquiring about getting a protection order against her husband. She said that anytime she threatened to leave him, he threatened to kill her, their daughter, and himself. And she told police he always had a gun nearby.
This noon, police across Georgia are mourning the death of one of their own. Locust Grove police officer Chase Maddox was shot and killed serving a warrant yesterday. We are now learning more about the suspect who shot Maddox and two Henry County Sheriff's deputies. Channel 2's Steve Gelbuck is live at the GBI headquarters in DeKalb County, where an autopsy is being performed right now. And Steve, the officer's body will be moved back to Henry County this afternoon.
At some point, escorted by fellow officers, the body of Chase Maddox going to go from here to that funeral home back in Henry County. Not sure exactly what time that's going to happen. At the same time, the GBI tells me that they still need to interview the two surviving deputies to find out exactly what led up to this shootout. A small memorial forms this morning outside the Locust Grove Police Department for Officer Chase Maddox, killed in the line of duty. Two Henry County deputies survived after being shot inside this home. A neighbor told me she heard what sounded like firecrackers. Pop, 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 pop. But Dory Kistner, who lives just across the cul-de-sac, knew they were gunshots and called 911.
And looked out the window and saw the heavyset officer running away, going ouch, 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 and feeling himself for wounds. That was Deputy Michael Corley, shot in his bulletproof vest that saved his life. Kistner also saw Deputy Sid Calloway, where he dropped just inside the front door. The one with the head sticking out of the door frame and the guy that came running down. I didn't realize there was a third officer inside.
And he never made it.
No.
She never saw Officer Maddox or her neighbor, 39-year-old Tierra Guthrie, both dead inside. She confirmed these are photos of Guthrie from his Facebook page. The father to 3 young boys, the youngest just a few months old, is also a Marine veteran and drove this truck parked in the driveway. But neighbors hadn't seen the cab move since the baby was born. All 3 kids were inside the house at the time of the shootout and are okay. But the entire Locust Grove community, family, and one of his closest friends mourns the loss of one of their finest.
Couldn't say enough wonderful things for somebody like Chase.
A deadly standoff in Detroit is over, but not without a tragic loss of life and injuries to police officers. 3 women were killed in the rampage, 2 sisters and their niece. 2 Detroit police officers and an off-duty school officer were shot and wounded. The gunman also killed himself in a standoff that dragged on for 14 hours. 7 Action News reporter Kimberly Craig is live with how it all played out on Detroit's northeast side. Such a tragedy. Hearts are heavy, I'm sure, tonight. Kim.
Absolutely, Carol, and this has been so incredibly devastating. It almost sounds surreal. And for the victims' families, many of whom live here on Lamont Street near Outer Drive, nothing will ever be the same.
Speechless, couldn't think about anything. I mean, just nobody can imagine something like this happening. Nobody.
Family and friends of the victim shocked. Police say a 61-year-old woman, her sister, and their niece were all killed by the niece's live-in boyfriend. He's 49-year-old Lance Smith.
As you know, this suspect showed and demonstrated that he was dangerous.
A relative says Patricia Wilson and her sister Barbara went to their niece's house last night to check on her. There was an issue with her boyfriend, Lance Smith, but Patricia and Barbara were shot and killed outside. And when Patricia's husband, an off-duty police officer with Detroit Public Schools, heard the gunshots and went to see what was happening, he was shot in the leg. 2 Detroit police officers were also shot when they responded. Police say Smith barricaded himself inside the house and continued to shoot at police.
What we do know, there's 7 guns registered to the location. There are a rifle, what appears was used in this assault, but many guns associated with the suspect.
Shortly after noon today, Michigan State Police used 3 robots to go inside the house. That's when they could see Smith's girlfriend was dead and he had shot and killed himself. Detroit police now trying to figure out what set Smith off. A man with no police contact before today, leaving 3 women dead and shooting 3 police officers.
Some family members, some friends made statements that he acts peculiar at times.
Just want everybody just to pray. I mean, you know, everybody pray. I want you to ask your friends to pray, their friends to pray. I mean, because something like this happen, you lose 3 family members in one day. It's unheard of.
Deputy Gum was killed at 88th and Dawson. Officers already arrested one of the suspects. We're a little more than 9 hours from when this all started. It is still an active scene as deputies search for 2 of the 3 suspects they believe were involved. One of the suspects, again, was arrested after Deputy Heath Gum was shot. What we know is this started out as deputies responding to an assault call on the southern edge of Thornton. The Adams County Sheriff's Office says when deputies got there, the suspects took off, leading deputies behind a house in this neighborhood, and that is when Deputy Gum was shot in the chest. Again, those suspects took off as deputies worked to help their fellow deputy and track down the suspects.
Deputy Gum was rushed to Denver Health Medical Center. It's a level 1 trauma center that is equipped to deal with serious injuries. He was pronounced dead at the hospital. Deputies searching for the 2 suspects had to deal with the news of losing one of their own. It is believed those 2 suspects are armed and dangerous. Officers were able to find the car that they think the suspects were in. They found that in North Glen, but obviously nobody was inside. People are already paying their condolences outside of the Adams County substation this morning.
Into the early morning hours, the community came together to watch a somber procession from Denver Health to the Adams County Coroner's Office. 9 News reporter Anusha Roy was there.
Their purpose for being here
to come out and pay my respects
are the same.
I live a few minutes away from where this happened.
Their reasons why, born out of respect.
My life was saved by a police officer 2.5 years ago. And I can't thank him enough. I wish I could give him everything in the world, and it's hard. It's hard to see them go through this.
You know, if you look up the street, as far as you can see, there are officers.
And even in this dark moment, Sudie Floyd, whose daughter is a police officer, took a moment to observe.
They're like a family. They come and support each other and everything. And I think if we acted like a family, maybe this wouldn't happen as a city.
So together, they waited.
It's the second time in just a few weeks that something like this has happened.
And together, they grieved.
They put their lives on the line every day for people like me.
And watched the line of officers that stood still begin to move, going one by one from Longmont, Sheridan, Aurora, Broomfield, and the Adams County Sheriff's Office.
Proving once again that you can find any nitwit academic to create a study saying anything you feel like it's saying. Newsweek has declared they have finally figured out the reason why all these cops are killing all these black people around America for no reason whatsoever. It's all about white racism, white racism, white racism. And no, that is not going to make the black kids angry.